Welcome. While searching around Hulu for anthology shows, I came across a new one. I've never heard of it before. It's called Bite Size Halloween. While I would normally table reviewing this for another time, since I'm already reviewing 5 right now, I realized this series is a bunch of, bite-size anthology shows, 2 to 3 minutes long. The entire first season is maybe an hour and a half, and 20 minutes of that is credits. There's 28 episodes in the first season, and this anthology show has 3 seasons, and they're all 2 to 3 minutes long, at least for the first season. So I thought I would check it out, and I was pleasantly surprised. So we're just going to review all of them from the first season. And it's an interesting premise, because if an episode sucks, kind of like episode 1, it's only 3 minutes long. You wasted 3 minutes. You can just go on to the next one. Also, if you're doing an anthology show that's only 2 minutes long, you kind of have to get right to the point. A lot of these anthology shows will waste 22 minutes building up to a monster that appears at the last second and is underwhelming. So we're going to start with Episode 1, Visible, which is not the best way to kick off the series. But once again, it's only 2 minutes long. And it starts very dark. A little girl is playing basketball. And all of a sudden, out of nowhere, this basketball comes to life and she realizes she's now playing basketball with ghost players. This episode is underwhelming. It's too dark. You don't even get to see any monsters, which you will see in other episodes. I'm going to give it a 2 out of 10. I'm not going to give it a 1 because there's a bit of a, I guess you could say, twist ending where she becomes the new ghost, but wow, bad way to kick off the series. Let's go to episode 2. Me and A. Looking like straight out of something out of Office Space, we get the main character is a guy who's very average looking, working a job he kind of hates, and he decides to take this genealogy test in hopes that maybe he's something extraordinary and not just your everyday schlub. So he sends this in, where we see a drawn-out scene, even though it's 2.5 minutes, a drawn-out scene of him spitting into this tube and sending it off. Kind of gross. And we find that this guy is actually something special, and they bring him into this warehouse, and we see at the end, he's caged away. We're assuming they're going to do experiments with him. This one works. It's one I'd like to see more of. In season 2 and 3, they'll allow people to do 5, 6, 7, even up to 15-minute episodes, but they're just testing it out for season 1. And this completely works. It has a twist. It's kind of funny, except for the spitting part. So this is going to get a 6 out of 10. And this probably should have been the first episode. As I said before, the credits take up 20 to 30 seconds of each of these 3-minute episodes. And you see how much work goes into even a 2-minute horror story. Credits are usually like 50 people long. So while the budgets of these aren't gigantic, it's certainly above something you would see in like a film school. Episode 3, Reborn. We get Kaya, who's an 8-year-old girl who's getting baptized, and it's hinted at that she's been misbehaving. So she goes to this baptism, and it's revealed that she ends up getting possessed and has a battle with a priest. Well, we don't get to see the battle part because they literally run out of time. But at least here we get to see some type of makeup. They use the white contact lenses to show that she's possessed. And come on, if you're going to do a 3-minute horror episode, give me some type of monster. Give me some type of violence. And this one delivers, but man, does it leave on a cliffhanger. I'm going to give it a 4 out of 10. It's almost a 5, but come on. They could have put in an extra 10 seconds of her battling this priest, right? Come on. And we get to episode 4 called Devil Vac, which is exactly what it sounds like. In fact, it's even more underwhelming than what it sounds like. You think there'd be a devil vacuum. Well, no, it's one of those circular Roomba vacuums that I can't tell if those are falling out of favor or not. They were cool when they first came out. I've used one before, and it's kind of dumb. It'll bounce around, it'll take too long, and I don't know, it might just be better to vacuum yourself. Unless, of course, you have a gigantic place and you just leave it going off while you're at work. Maybe that would work. Let me know your thoughts on Roombas. But anyways, this is literally just a Roomba that has red lights. They do nothing to decorate this thing to make it look more evil. They do some computer graphics at the end where a portal to hell opens up, but man, this is a pretty weak episode. Devil Vac is going to get a 3 out of 10. It's not very scary. And come on, if you're going to use a Roomba, at least dress it up a little bit. Put feathers on it. Put horns on it. Do something. Just make it have a red light. Now we're at episode 5, Mondays. An episode I watched twice. In fact, a lot of these I watched 2 or 3 times to make sure I wasn't missing anything. And I didn't really miss anything with Mondays. It's about a guy who doesn't hold the elevator door open for an old lady. And then he goes into the bathroom and this old lady attacks him in a very corny way. That's it. Well, at least we get to see some violence in this one. I guess supposed to be doing some commentary on how you should help the elderly, and if you don't help the elderly, they'll pimp slap you in the bathroom. But it's also kind of done for laughs too. They can't figure out if this is supposed to be funny or scary, and it's really neither. I guess it's supposed to be funny because she's old, get it? Mondays is gonna get a 3.
When conventional forensic identification fails.
That's when I'm hired as a forensic sculptor.
Episode 6, Jane, and already at the start of this episode seems like a beginning of a CSI episode where a forensic sculptor is talking about how they have to examine skulls, and right at the start we're already back on track. A girl by the name of Jane directly talks into the camera and explains her job as a forensic sculptor, where she's trying to break open these cold case files that don't have enough evidence to identify the person, so she's going to try to get to the bottom of this. And this is a real life job, and the setting looks great, and the editing and aesthetics could be mistaken for a much bigger budget episode. And we get a twist at the end that maybe the skull that she's sculpting looks a lot like her, and maybe she's the Jane Doe. This is a great episode, and it's exactly how you should use your 3 minutes. You don't have time to do a ton of characters, but having the person directly talk to the camera works very well because she can run through a lot of things very quickly and explain who she is, what she's doing, and eventually what happens at the end because she's addressing the whole thing straight at you. This is going to get an 8 out of 10. Good job. All these episodes are made by different people. Usually they have very few credits, just a few shorts, or they're obviously using people who just got out of film school. But this one's directed by Quinn Else, who is a visual effects artist for movies like The Wife Who Knew Too Much, Bury Me When I'm Dead, Forge, Nightmare in the Desert, and this really shows through since the visual effects look great. And so far she's only directed shorts, but we'll see. Maybe she'll get her own full-length movie at some point too. So good job, Quinn Else. Episode 7, Monstagram. Get it? Monster? Instagram? Of course, because this is broadcast on Hulu, they can't say the word Instagram, which I don't really get. It seems like some TV shows are able to say Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and some of them just avoid it, I guess, for lawsuit reasons. But this is about a mom who wants to be a big influencer, and she takes a picture of her son who's bathing. And this is an obvious callback to the movie It, where Georgie is dressed up in this yellow raincoat, and the kid doesn't want the picture of him taken and put on the internet, which makes complete sense. He's wise beyond his years, and says that if the mom posts this pictures and it gets above 100 likes, Monstagram's gonna come and kill her. She of course doesn't believe this. She wants to be an influencer. Her stuff hasn't been doing well, so she's gonna put cat pictures out. She's gonna put pictures of her kids. She's gonna do anything she can to be famous. So she posts the picture and it does get 100 likes. And this one completely delivers. It has 2 characters. We get quite a bit of dialogue, at least for this series. Usually it's people just kind of creeping around. And this is schlocky fun. Monstagram looks absolutely ridiculous, and he has a sidekick that is a duck that ends up killing the mom. We see a ton of blood, her face gets smashed in. Monstagram looks like a hellish Teletubby. It's an original costume, a good commentary on society, especially people will do anything and put their kids on anything to get famous. And I love Monstagram. It's the best one so far. It's a 9 out of 10. It's funny, its commentary makes sense, it has 2 good characters, and we get to see a duck kill somebody. A good use of 3 minutes. It's also one that I don't think would have been better if it was extended out to 22 minutes. Some of these would have been. Reborn, where it seems like they're about to have a battle. This one works perfectly as 3 minutes. If they extended it to 22 minutes, we would just get a huge backstory about how she wants to be an influencer, how she'll do anything for clicks, and then we see Monstagram at the end. Here, they skip right towards the end and give you the monster. Dare I say perfection. Unlike our next episode, Creature, which is not perfection. Starts off as a post-apocalyptic landscape where these people are trapped in a subway car. It seems really inspired by something like It's a Quiet Place. The people are being too loud, so the monsters come and get them. But then it does one of the most mind-numbingly dumb endings. And I'll just play a clip of it. This is what happens after her friends get killed.
That's it. Bad CGI.
Yeah, they just completely break the fourth wall, kills any amount of tension, and then it just ends there. She tries to get out of the subway car and she reflects, almost like she's a computer glitch, so maybe this is a simulation or maybe she's dreaming this. Either way, this is amateurish, something high schoolers would film with their video camera and be like, oh, the monster's coming to get me. And then he turns to his friend and says, isn't that something you just bought at Spirit Halloween? Ha ha ha. They break the fourth wall. It's not funny. It's terrible. Nobody expects the CGI in this series to look that great anyways. These episodes came out in 2020. So before the AI boom where any Tom, Dick, and Harry could do quote-unquote CGI. It's going to get a 3 out of 10. It had some potential, but just making fun of the monster and having it end there, she doesn't even get killed, is a terrible idea. Now we get to episode 9, The Mime. Another one that's a bit head-scratching. Similar to episode 5, Mondays, where a guy pissed off an old lady. This time a guy is being disrespectful to a mime. So this mime decides to put him into a box. The idea of a mime being a villain could definitely work, especially if you give them some special powers. I don't think this episode really goes anywhere special, because the first thing she does is puts invisible walls around him, almost like there's a force field so he can't go anywhere. And I thought they were going to continue with this concept. Maybe she would make it so that he can't talk. Maybe she would make it so that he becomes the new mime. But no, she just turns him into some small little object. So kind of a disappointing ending. I'm going to give mine a 4 out of 10. Gregory. Another commentary, this one on the airline industry, about a guy who doesn't want to give up his seat to an airline employee, because after all, he paid for the seat. And while I want to be on this guy's side, if the airline tells you to move, you just kind of have to do it. I've been in that situation before too. But usually if you pay for the seat, they'll let you stay there. But if it's literally like an airline employee has to sit down, not sure why they wouldn't have seats in the front and back for that, but okay. This could potentially happen, I guess, or they overbooked. You just have to move, so he's being a dick by not moving. And so what do? Well, they send out Gregory. This has a large cast with a ton of extras and a set that actually looks like an airline, an international airline anyways. But Gregory is this giant monster who comes running at this guy and starts chasing him around. It's a thrilling episode. The commentary's funny enough, and it's not exactly what I expected. The fact they made Gregory a monster, and they have it where all the other passengers go to sleep, so now it's just this guy and this monster, is tense. It's great. I think Gregory is another top tier episode, 9 out of 10. Episode 11, Don't Go Down to Wildor. About a guy named Chuck who goes down to Wildor, which is a haunted house. Brother goes missing, and he gets a text message, and they do that thing they do in movies and TVs where they actually show the text message on the screen. I always liked it when they did this. It's a good way to tell the story too, because it's only one character in this, Chuck, but he has interactions with his quote-unquote brother through these text messages, which we learn are really the ghosts in this haunted house. And then at the end, his mother starts texting him as well. A smart way to make the story move faster, rather than him getting a phone call from his mother and doing the dialogue there. They just put the text up on the screen. Well, Wildor is a haunted house, and we see several monsters in this one, and it delivers. Don't Go Down to Wildor. It's going to get a 6 out of 10. I especially like the ending, where he gets a warning too late to not go into this abandoned house. But this one isn't as creative as something like Gregory or Monstergram. Still, it delivers on a few scares. Episode 12, Stray. A young girl is told by her mother that the Pied Piper is coming, so she has him put on these headphones to protect her, but of course the little girl gets up in the middle of the night, takes off the headphones, and she gets lured outside to meet the Pied Piper. And the Pied Piper is a mix between a Twisted Metal character in an ice cream truck and a Silent Hill villain. Seems like they're merging these two video games to create the ultimate monster. It's Sweet Tooth from Twisted Metal and a horror from Silent Hill. I always like the aesthetics of those games. We can never get too far in them because of the freaking puzzles. Oh man, if only Survival Horror didn't have puzzles back in the day. But you could see the obvious influence of video games on these episodes because they're straight up copying, but I'm here for it. So Stray's decent. It's going to get a 5 out of 10. Once again, leaves on a cliffhanger where we don't really get to see a chase scene or what exactly happens with the Pied Piper. Also, he didn't look like a freaking Pied Piper. Looks like one of the nurses from Silent Hill. Why the hell is the episode called Stray? Oh, I'm so confused. Then we get to episode 13, Nix. Woo! An episode that seems like it was written by a high schooler during PE class after running 2 miles on the track. There's not much here. You get a space station, which is an interesting location change, referencing something like Alien, but that's it. The girl has her co-worker go on a spacewalk, which we don't really see, and then he knocks on the doors and asks to come back in, and that's it. Does she let him back in? It seems like it. Do we see a monster? Of course not. Is this a waste of 2.5 minutes? Yeah. Is there anything good about this episode? Well, it's in space, so it's a little more interesting. But 3 out of 10. If you do these short episodes, you have to deliver something. The episode cannot literally just be you're sitting at home and then someone knocks on your door and you go, "Who's there?" They go, "Frank." "Are you sure it's Frank?" "Sure, it's Frank." And then you go to open the door and the episode ends. I mean, I could do that. You could do that. Anyone can do that. Nix is pretty weak. Episode 14, Landline. shows that you don't need an hour and a half to pack in a nice story into 3 minutes. Starts with a garage sale and a couple picking up this pink landline phone because it's just like so kitschy and like old school. And like, this will look so cute in my bathroom because it's retro. It's playing on kids nowadays being into retro stuff because it's kind of cool, but also warning you what might happen if you pick up something retro from a yard sale. It then flashes back to the 80s in a hilarious montage, complete with VHS filters that are something I think I can do. Hold on, let me try to put on a VHS filter. There we go. With the previous owners of this pink-yellow telephone in the 80s, complete with a montage of the guy practicing nunchucks in the mirror, his girlfriend being decked out with a perm, a bright yellow dress, and huge earrings. But this phone is demonic, and it kills the previous owners. Then it flashes back to the yard sale the couple's at, and we know what awaits them when they take home this phone. This episode is absolutely great. It's about a killer telephone, but it is also laughing at itself. The fact that it goes out of its way to parody 80s fashion while still looking like something that could have come from the 80s. I'm a big fan of. We're right back on track. It's also another one that I watched several times, so nobody else has any excuses if their 3-minute episode is boring, because this one absolutely isn't. 8 out of 10. Episode 15, Clock, about a working woman who's staying late at the office, and I believe this is referencing her biological clock, because she gets into this parking garage and all of a sudden a baby appears. Then she sees a stroller. Then she goes into her car and a baby's in her back seat. And yeah, considering what Landline did with 3 minutes, with flashbacks, with several characters, 2 great locations, we get a boring parking garage with a lady just looking at a baby. There's a few creepy sounds, but man, I think Clock is pretty bad. I get it, it's her biological clock. She's about to reach 40, or maybe she's a little over 40, and she hasn't had kids. That's at least what I think it's hinting at, but who cares? Imagine pitching a story where a woman walks into a parking garage, hears noises, then a baby appears. Now, as I'm giving this negative review, it looks like Clock is actually going to be one of the shorts that's going to be made into a movie. Don't ask me why. Because it seems like Hulu is searching for some writers, directors, and probably even actors to create Hulu original movies or series with. I know they did this with the movie Hug, which seems to have done pretty well. I think it's the killer Chuck E. Cheese movie. And they're apparently going to make Clock into a movie. Why they wouldn't make Landline into a movie, I don't know. Or episode 20, which I think is the funniest, Summoned. I have no idea, but I don't run these things. So Clock is still bad. I'm giving it a 2 out of 10. And I look forward to reviewing the movie. Episode 16, Eye Exam, that features a smart protagonist. Her name is Ellen. She's getting her eyes checked. And it starts with someone running out of the room screaming, which is not exactly what you want to see in a doctor's office, even if it's for an eye appointment, which I think are the least frightening. It's like optometrist, least frightening, dentist, second most frightening, then the actual doctor's office, especially if they do blood work, the most scary. That's how I would rank them. Some people put dentist above doctor, but let's be honest, sometimes going to the dentist it can feel kind of good. And they're also playing on the fact that eye exams are a little ridiculous. There's been a million stand-up comedians that have talked about this, but they'll show you 2 pictures that are pretty much the same thing and go, is 1 better or 2? I don't know, 2. Is 2 blurrier or just smaller? The same. Is 3 blurrier or a little smaller? I guess a little smaller. Is 4? It's like, Jesus, come on. It's 2026. Isn't there some instrument you can just like flash my eye and tell my vision? That stuff has to be coming out soon, right? So they play on that. But Eileen notices that there's someone else in the room who she sees flashing, and that the doctor seems to really be pushing her to give certain answers. And so she actually flubs this eye exam. Now this is all done not necessarily through dialogue, but just through visual effects and her own facial expressions. You can tell she's not exactly comfortable with what's going on, and is purposely making up answers so that she can get to leave this eye exam. And then we see at the end that these doctors seem to be aliens that are looking for the quote-unquote correct eyes that they can remove. And you don't want to be the correct eyes, because it looks like they're going to take your eyes, which would probably hurt. So eye exam's quite good. It's done seriously, but there's a little bit of funniness to it as well when you see that she's actually trying to get out of this eye exam. And when something's obviously blurry, she's like, it's clear. She's like, are you sure? Yeah, I'm definitely sure. 6 out of 10. Episode 17, Retreat, about a girl It goes on a meditation retreat that she found on the internet. She doesn't know too much about this. She's not really into religion, but it definitely will make a good photo op for her Instagram. Man, they're really bashing the influencers in this series, as people who are vapid will do anything for clicks. This actress did look familiar, as most of these are actors and actresses that are just getting started. But the main character is played by DeVita Williams, who was in, wait for it, Lizzie McGuire in 2001-2023 as Claire. And recently she's been in movies like A Screenshot to Santa and 2023 in Game Set Love, so she's still acting. She does a good job. She also looks really good, which is important because other people in this episode don't look very good. So she's on this meditation retreat. She catches eyes with a guy who is the leader, and then she gets this premonition that maybe this is a cult. So they chase her for a little bit. We get a bit of a chase scene. The whole thing is non-offensive and a decent way to spend 3 minutes. The set's good as well. This really does look like a run-down meditation retreat that can absolutely turn into a cult at any moment. It of course ends on a cliffhanger. They only have a couple minutes. What are you going to do? But I'm going to give Retreat a 6 out of 10. Episode 18. Get ready for this. This one is 7 minutes long. It's the first one to break the 7-minute barrier. Everything else has been 3 to 4. And even the 4-minute ones are barely 4 minutes. 4 minutes worth of credits. And I was excited for this one. What are they going to be able to do with 7 minutes? And unfortunately, we'll see this later on in the series as well, they flub it. Starts with an interesting premise. We get the main character Dante, who's a pianist. He's going to play a gig at a wedding, though we don't see the wedding set up at all. The person escorting him to this location is actually quite funny. She seems a little odd. She makes some racially tinged insults and says that it used to be slave quarters. And then the episode just drops off a cliff. This is a decent setup. You have two characters that are interacting with each other in I think a funny manner. I thought she was going to follow him into this house. No. He goes into the house and then we get 3 minutes of piano playing. It's supposed to be building tension, but I was holding my head like, oh, this thing is 7 minutes long. We just got 3 minutes of piano playing. The place looks dark. It looks abandoned. Then he goes upstairs and sees a ghost. Well, not really. He sees an image of somebody. But it's not any type of scary ghost. Trouble is weak. This could have easily been fixed by just having the girl interact with him the rest of the episode, since their dialogue was quite funny. And she was creepier than anything that we're going to see in this house. Once again, it seems like another episode that should have been 3 minutes long, and they just extended to 7. I don't know why they did that. So, Trouble's disappointing. I guess I'll be super generous and give it a 4 out of 10. It's really a 2 or 3, but the beginning is good. But the middle and ending is super boring. You get to hear some piano music, so maybe it's one to chill to. Episode 19, Costume Change. We're back to the 3-minute time slot, and yet this fits more story into its 3 minutes than Trouble does into 7. It's a Halloween episode about a kid who's wearing a pirate costume that he doesn't want to take off. And we actually see him go to a house to trick or treat. We see him argue with his parents about changing this costume. And then at the end, we realize that he is wearing a costume. But really, it's his human form that is the costume the entire time. I figured we were going to get a twist. Didn't exactly predict this one. I thought he wouldn't be able to take off the costume or something. But it's decent. It's edited really fast as well, so it moves the scenes along at a brisk pace. Unlike last episode, Trouble. So 6 out of 10 for costume change. He doesn't look like a very scary monster, but the whole thing's supposed to be fun anyways. And now we get to my favorite episode. I've watched this thing like 5 times. It's episode 20, Summoned. An episode that will totally throw you off balance, since it starts as a girl, Audrey, setting up a seance so she can talk to her boyfriend that died, Jake. We see a slight picture of him. He looks like a pretty decent looking guy. And what does she get instead when she tries to summon Jake? Well, she gets this jackass.
Who are you?
Audrey, it's me, Kyle Crab.
You said I kissed like a German shepherd.
This is called Ladybug. There are 9 verses.
It's Sam Levine. And this is what happens when you get a legitimately good actor, because he's the best actor of the entire series. He was in the great show Freaks and Geeks, playing a nerd. And 20 years later, he's still playing a nerd. He was also in Not Another Teen Movie, Inglourious Bastards, and recently Asteria and City of Dreams. And the switch in tone completely works. Instead of summoning her hunky boyfriend, she gets this guy who has had a crush on her since elementary school, and apparently he died as well. He choked on a bagel. And now she's going to be stuck with him for eternity. This guy's such a doofus that when she tells him that the one time they kissed, he kissed like a Saint Bernard, he actually takes this as a compliment. This episode is hilarious. It completely works and would be my favorite to be extended into a full movie. But no, they're going to do Clock as a full movie, not this one. This will be a great horror comedy, leaning more into comedy. He even ends it with a terrible song that he's going to play her. Actress is played by Catherine Lidstone, and come on, does this girl look like she's a little out of the league of Sam? Of course. And that's why it's funny. Summoned, I think I'm going to give it 10 out of 10. I think it's perfect. I think the twist and tone works. One of the few that have me laughing out loud. And for the credit sequence, we got to hear his terrible song. You want to hear part of it? There you go.
Ladybug, ladybird, lady beetle, I'd keep you in a jar if it weren't illegal.
Do Not Open This Box is the name of a Tales from the Dark Side episode, directed by Jodie Foster. It's also what this episode should be called, where a delivery driver gets a package from a man saying, "Do not open this box." This is episode 21, Special Delivery. I would say the definition of an average episode, because it's an intriguing premise, but it's also a premise that's been done 1,000 times before. I guess it's playing on more modern conventions of like Uber Eats or DoorDash drivers. Hey, go deliver this package to someone else, which apparently you can do with something like Uber Eats. What exactly are people delivering to other people? Drugs, that'd be my guess. Why exactly do you have to send a package across town? So it's playing on that, and that's the entire episode. It says, "Do not open this box." We see scenes of this driver thinking about opening the box, hearing it rumble around, looks like some little gremlins inside. And then they get to the house, and right as they get to the house where they're supposed to deliver this box, she opens the box, and well, we get a great special effect. It's a little alien creature. Well, it's probably a puppet, but it looks realistic enough. And that's pretty much it. I guess I would have preferred it if they stopped like halfway through the journey and opened the box, or if this box came alive and started running away. The fact that they get right to the house where they're supposed to deliver this, then they think, I'll open the box right at this very moment. And it seems like the house they were being delivered to, the house who was delivering this box to, are aliens. So I'm going to give this a solid 5. This is an average episode. It's not a bad way to spend a couple minutes, but this is indeed a 2-sentence horror story. Another show we'll cover in the future. We'll meet to episode 22, Thirst. It starts with a more intriguing premise. You can really see the influence of A Quiet Place on these episodes. Not that it was the first post-apocalyptic monster movie ever made, but just the way these things are shot is inspired by those series of movies. And in this one, you can be sort of loud, but you can't sweat, cry, or drink water, since these are moisture-sensitive monsters. And this episode is around 5 minutes, if you cut out the credit sequences, and uses it to great effect. Maybe homaging something like The Last of Us. It's a father, Ronald, with his daughter, Becca, and he's trying to help her survive in this post-apocalyptic landscape. We see them face these creatures and then run away from them the entire time, not trying to have any type of perspiration. This is another one that should be expanded upon. I could see this becoming a full-fledged movie. And it's really well done. We get some nice outdoor locations, and when we finally see the monsters, like crazed zombies, the infected, I guess you could say, and it was definitely the right choice. I was expecting to see another poorly done CGI monster, since the budget on this series is not very big. But this is going to get a 9 out of 10. It's tense. You actually care about these characters, and while making people whisper so that the monsters don't hear you is effective in A Quiet Place, being able not to cry or drink water or even sweat without attracting the monsters, I think works even better. Because in this case, her father gets taken by the monsters, and then they zoom in on the little girl, and she can't cry, because if she starts crying, monsters will come for her. It's an effective scene. I like this one a lot. Now we're on to 23, Old Maid. That is a very hard one to rate, since it has a great ending. You at least get a jump scare at the end, but man, does it take too long to get there. And these are only a couple minutes long. A bride is having second thoughts about getting married to this man. The entire episode is her staring in the mirror, contemplating what to do, and we see a brief scene where she looks out the window and sees the wedding party, all ready for her to come down. She gets slipped an Old Maid playing card into her room. And I'm sure there's some deeper meaning here. Maybe they're trying to say she's going to be an old maid. Maybe it's like a Mary Mary thing. If you say Old Maid in the mirror, it comes to get you. But this episode is pretty poor, right until the end, where we get another effective monster, but only for a split second. So I'm going to give it a 4 out of 10. It is a great jump scare, and you do see the jump scare coming, but look at this visual. Once again, eschewing any type of computer graphic effects, or just some good old makeup, which works way better in this series. And they also do something smart with the credits as well that I appreciate, because these episodes are only 3 to 4 minutes long. A lot of times the credits are super boring. They go on for 20, 30 seconds, which doesn't seem like a lot until you realize there's 28 episodes of this, all with 30-second credit sequences. You're spending like 15 minutes of this entire series just watching credits. They actually show footage of what happens after this old maid comes to get her while doing the credits, which is what all these episodes should be doing. So I would give this a lower score, but finally someone's doing something smart with the credits, not just having a blank space with people's names on them. Baby, episode 24, where a couple gets a cat. The cat immediately scratches the girl and she turns into a cat. I watched this episode a few times because the things they have her do as a cat are so pedestrian. I think this is supposed to be sort of a comic episode. This is not like the movie The Fly, where he turns into a fly and it's grotesque body horror. She gets scratched by a cat, then she jumps into a tree, and then she starts licking herself. She doesn't attack anyone, nothing really happens. This is the least interesting cat ever. At least she could like jump on some roofs or something and chase some birds or something. Can't she turn into Catwoman, get like a whip? Nothing? She just licks herself and jumps into a tree? 3 out of 10 for Baby. This Old House. Another one attempting to deal with racial tensions. And I'm definitely not reading into this, because this one's written and directed by Robin Cloud, and just a cursory glance of her Twitter account shows she's serious about social justice. So yeah, this is a super progressive spin on a haunted house. I think it's supposed to be talking about gentrification. She's an old lady, and there's all these white people that are coming to the house that are trying to buy the house. We see pictures of white people, and we find out she's a ghost. I don't really care about politics or if they put in politics in the episodes, but come on, have something happen. This is a terrible episode. This is going to give it 2 out of 10. Nothing happens. An old lady just goes, don't buy my house, don't buy my house. Why would they put this in here? Oh yeah, because it has a super, super deep meaning. Because it sure as hell doesn't have anything else. Now we get episode 26, First Date, where I love the lighting in this episode. This is a tale about 2 lesbians. You get a pretty famous actress, Hari Neff, who's actually transgender, so I guess it's supposed to be a girl and a transgender guy. I'm not sure. But she was in the movie Barbie and Charlie XCX. It's a music video for 360. And this one gets away with not doing that much by having great acting, a nice set. It's a 1-room location, but the whole thing is so fluorescent and out there. It makes you think this might be in outer space. This might be in some type of parallel universe. And it's just a joy to look at. And it leaves with a satisfying ending where we see that the black girl, Billy, might be getting married to a serial killer. I think this is a good episode. It's not top tier, but it's going to get 6 out of 10. Just because it's fun to look at, has a different feel than other episodes, and is a bit unnerving without any actual terrible violence happening. You know something's wrong with this couple. They're dancing, they're talking, but she learns more of her past and gets more and more freaked out. Number 27th, The Lake. Another 6-minute episode that could have been 2 minutes. I commented on the look of the previous episode, using a lot of LED lights and making it look futuristic. This one does the opposite. It goes for realism so much that the whole thing is so dark. These are the screenshots I could take. I'll show some footage too, and you just can't see anything. But I actually don't think that's the problem with this episode. What they're trying to do is it's a couple that are hiking the Atlas Mountains, which is in Morocco, and they see a meteor fall from the sky, and they begin to follow it. The whole thing is done late at night, so you can barely see what's going on. There's not much to look at since they're out in these mountains. It just consists of them walking to this meteor. It's dark, and they move the camera around, trying to put the viewer as the third person in this adventure, the third wheel, if you will. If you were really walking alongside this couple, would you be able to see anything? No. You're out in the middle of nowhere, and it's dark out. So, it's going for a realistic vibe, and I think it's okay, but man, nothing really happens in this episode. They walk the entire time, they get to this meteor, they go out into the ocean. Once again, you can see basically nothing, making you squint at the screen, but I understand this is done on purpose. And his boyfriend comes out from the ocean, and you see a flicker of his eyes, and it looks like they both turned into aliens. But that's it. We don't really see anything else. No monster effects. So I think I'm going to give this a 3 out of 10. It's just a little too boring, and once again, there's no reason for this to be 6 minutes long. 90% of them is them walking and doing nothing. Are we going to end on a good episode? It's episode 26, and the last one of season 1, Missing. Also, it seems like they just randomly had these episodes in no particular order. It's not like the episodes get better as things go on or they get worse. It just seems to be completely random. I feel like they did that on purpose. Like, we're going to put in a bad episode, then we're going to put a good episode, then we're going to put an average one. That's my theory, at least. But Missing is a good episode. There's another one that has a lot of dialogue, and I think the ones with a lot of dialogue for these 3-minute shorts, they end up being the better ones, because there's only so much you can do with tension with 3 minutes. You could have someone creep along the floor, but now you've wasted 2 minutes and you basically have explained nothing. Here, there's a mother that's talking to 2 detectives about how her daughter went missing. And she's explaining to them, and you can tell they don't quite believe her, that she thinks it's the girl's father and her ex-husband that kidnapped her. And we learn at the end, well, that's not exactly what happened. This is a good episode. I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10. I especially like the fact that they make the detectives say basically nothing during this episode, look at each other in questioning ways, and the camera kind of tells you that this girl is full of shit, and does the very important thing of showing and not telling. They're not questioning her back, going, oh yeah, are you sure? Because actually, you were the last one to be seen with her, and we have you on camera on 44th Street. They're just looking back and forth like, I don't think so. Because that guy's missing too, and so is the daughter, and we think it's you. Another one that would be nice to be expanded upon. But the ending is good enough. It doesn't end on a complete cliffhanger. We get some conclusion, but also there's a lot more questions to be asked on what exactly happens now that this mother has kidnapped the father and her daughter. So, good way to end the season. Do I think this series is worth watching? Yeah, because the episodes are 3 minutes long, so if it's bad, you'll get one eventually. And you get to see lots of monsters in this episode. They get right to the special effects. But of course, you're not going to get that much as far as character development. We'll cover seasons 2 and 3 in about a month. Thanks a lot. Also, check out our playlist for the other series we've covered. We've done Tales from the Dark Side, Monsters, Fear Itself, Pet Shop Horrors, Cowboy Bebop, Black Mirror, Mystery Science Theater 3000, and Twilight Zone. Thanks.